What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode on EI Entertainment Studios, back at it with another debate episode. Today's debate episode, we're going to be talking about the Xenomorph versus Destoroyah in its aggregate slash junior form. So here's the plan, folks. We're going to go over the backstory's characteristics. We're basically going to analyze these two kaijus. Once we're done analyzing them, we're going to put them up against each other in a death battle. I'll go way more into detail once we get to the death battle, so without further ado, let's begin with the backstory of the Xenomorph. So the Xenomorph is a multi-stage alien life species where it finds its hosts with a face hugger and grows inside a host, and when it's ready to be born, basically it bursts out of the host's chest, killing the host in the process, and taking the form of the host. So the Xenomorph actually might look just a bit different from other Xenomorphs depending on its host. For example, we've seen movies where there's dog Xenomorphs or dog form Xenomorphs and different types of Xenomorphs depending on the human, depending on the host, as I said, right? Now, abilities, I'm going to do a quick skim. We're going to finish off the Xenomorph and then we're going to come back to the abilities. So for now, so a quick skim, but don't worry, as I said, we'll come back to the abilities. So abilities as a quick skim goes as follows: very intelligent, tail stab, sharp claws, double mouth bite, acid blood, very agile, and strength. Territorial level is maximum, aggression level is maximum. Biome is space, and height is approximately 2 meters tall. Okay, let's go back to the abilities and let's do a deep analysis and see what we're working with in terms of the Xenomorph. So here's the first thing. Very intelligent. The Xenomorphs are known to be very, very intelligent. I would argue maybe not as intelligent as the Predator. It would be the best comparison, especially that they've fought before, but definitely they still are very intelligent. We've seen in the movie that they can plan attacks, especially together. They can plan attacks, have plans in ways they're gonna attack, have exit plans. So definitely these creatures are not stupid. They're definitely pretty smart. They're known as the perfect organism. Now, the next ability we have is a tail stab. Now, the Xenomorph actually has a long, sharp end to its tail where it could actually use to stab its opponents, and it could kill its opponents depending on the size of the opponent as well. For example, humans, easy kill the tail stab, right? So that's one ability you should know, that it could definitely penetrate almost any skin for its opponent. It's a very sharp tail. After this, we have sharp claws. Xenomorphs has claws, and it could claw its opponents. Again, that ability is not the strongest ability, definitely not an ability that's going to kill anything, but it's definitely a good ability to wear off an opponent, or it's something to kind of slow them down, wear them off, or just to defend itself, right? After that, we have double mouth bite. Now we know that the Xenomorph actually has two mouths. It has one big mouth and then a smaller mouth inside of the mouth, and that's where it actually crushes skulls. It bursts into the skull and just kills the opponent. And that's basically that's actually the main way it kills its opponents, with its mouth. It opens its mouth, and then it opens its smaller mouth, and that mouth is like a quick gun, shoots out, right? And then it just gets the opponent or the prey or whatever it is, right? After that, we have acid blood. So we know that the Xenomorph's blood can actually melt through almost anything. So if its blood falls on you, your flesh is gonna melt. So that's a perfect, amazing, super good defense mechanism, and that's why it is the perfect organism. Also, it's very agile. It's known to be very fast, basically amazing fitness, and it runs and it's super fast, barely gets any tired, so it's basically amazing. It's a cross athlete, amazing things. It's very fast, so in the battle it's going to be jumping everywhere, back and forth, and it can go for a pretty long time before it does get tired. That is to say. And finally, we have just pure strength. The Xenomorph is known to be very, very strong in combat. So it's very difficult to throw it around and to basically ward it off, because it's very, very strong. It might look thin and weird from the outside, but in the inside, its muscles are very strong. So don't even question the Xenomorph. Alright folks, that's gonna sum up the Xenomorph. Now let's move on into the Destoroyah Aggregate / Junior form. This is before he becomes a giant devil, right? So the Destoroyah Aggregate form is the infant form, and it originates from the use of the Oxygen Destroyer. This parasite crab-like creature is basically pure evil, killing everything in its sight. Abilities: quick skim, Oxygen Destroyer Ray, Double Mouth Energy Destroyer, Spiked Body, and many legs. We'll go more deeper into it, don't worry. Territorial level is maximum, aggression level is maximum, biome is Earth, and the height is approximately 3 meters. So just a tad bit, a meter taller than the Xenomorph. Let's go back to the abilities, and let's see what these are. So the first one we have is the Oxygen Destroyer Ray. It's something similar to Godzilla's Atomic Breath, not the same thing obviously, but I'm trying to do a comparison so you guys understand what it is. You know, Godzilla's Atomic Breath, this is like, it's like a ray, and it's based off of the Oxygen Destroyer, and it basically just melts into things, right? Like humans, they just get completely vanished from it. So basically it destroys the oxygen in that area when it uses the ability. It's an oxygen destroyer. So very powerful ability for organisms that live on the Earth, because they could literally destroy the oxygen and therefore destroying all the natural components or the natural ingredients of the opponent or the prey, and it completely just disintegrates them to ashes. That's the Oxygen Destroyer Ray. After that we have the Double Mouth. So kind of similar to the Xenomorph, the Destoroyah Aggregate / Junior form actually has two mouths. A mouth, obviously one big mouth, and then a smaller mouth in the mouth. But the purpose of the smaller mouth is very interesting. When it bites into its opponents, it actually it brings their energy down. It's very interesting. It literally brings their energy down, and it prepares them to die because they're going to lose their energy and have a hard time fighting or warding off this Destroyer. So very powerful ability in my opinion. After that we have a spiked body. It's just basically its body is very spiked and rugged and hard, so the opponent can also get damage from attacking it because the spiked parts can, you know, rip into the flesh of the opponent. It's a great defense mechanism for this Destroyer. And it also has many legs, meaning it's pretty quick. It can't jump around as a Xenomorph could, but it's pretty quick, going back, forth, left, right, basically running around. It is pretty quick. Okay folks, this will sum up everything, both the Xenomorph and the Destoroyah Aggregate form. Now we're gonna go to the death battle. So let me explain what we're gonna do. We're gonna go close range and far range. The reason why I do far range first is to test these opponents' abilities out and see in a limited ability. So obviously some abilities can be used and some abilities cannot be used. And we're trying to see if some of the abilities are limited off, can this opponent still win in a battle? It's a great way to test them. And close range is just normal, just fighting to the death, anything could be used. So we're gonna do far range first. Now here's the deal. Most opponents I use a 700 meters apart. Those are giant monsters. These guys are small. They're very small. They're just a tad bit bigger than humans, right? Just a little bit bigger than humans. So we're going to lower that to 15 meters. They're going to be 15 meters apart and cannot come closer. And both of them might not be able to win, or one might be able to win. We're trying to see. This is the process. We're testing them. So we're gonna see what abilities the Xenomorph can or cannot use in terms of far range. In terms of 15 meters, obviously modified because these are very small creatures compared to Godzilla or other monsters that we actually include in the debates, right? So we have very intelligent. Obviously, it's a defensive mechanism. Far range doesn't matter. Tail stab cannot be used. Too far. Remember, no physical contact in far range. So tail stab cannot be used. Sharp claws cannot be used. Double mouth bite cannot be used. Acid blood can be used. Very agile, sure, defensive wise, and strength Defensive-wise, not offensive-wise. So the only thing that Xenomorph can use is the acid blood in terms of far range. Now, for Destoroyah's junior/aggregate form, we have the Oxygen Destroyer Ray, so yes, he can use that. Double Mouth Energy Destroyer, yes. Spiked Body, actually, I take that back. The Double Mouth Energy Destroyer, I said yes, it's actually a no, we cannot use that one. Spiked Body, well, for defensive-wise, yes, but offensive, no. And many legs, just fat back and forth, running around fast, not going close to him, but running away from the Xenomorph can be used. So basically, the only ability that the Destroyer can use is the Oxygen Destroyer Ray. Okay, so fair enough. In a far-range battle, the Oxygen Destroyer Ray is going to be the big one here, so he's going to keep on using this against the Xenomorph, and it's really going to hurt him. Now, it is to say at one point when the Destroyer uses the Oxygen Destroyer Ray on the Xenomorph, the blood's going to spill all over the place and potentially hit the Destroyer, and it's going to really melt the flesh, but just because they're 50 meters apart, again, not too far, but also not too close, the chances of the blood really spilling over the Destroyer Aggregate is very, very low, and there's only one answer to this in far range. The Oxygen Destroyer Ray is going to have a lot of damage on the Xenomorph. However, it's only gonna have part damage. What do you mean? Let me explain. So of course this is a force, and forces are gonna hurt the opponent. So it's coming at a force, it's coming at a fast speed, so it's definitely gonna hurt the Xenomorph. But is it going to do the same thing it did to the humans? Is it going to completely disintegrate them? Is it completely going to make this Xenomorph turn to ashes? And the answer is no. Because the Oxygen Destroyer Ray can only destroy things that are dependent on oxygen. Yes, he can do damage to things, but he can't completely destroy them if it's not oxygen. So the Xenomorph does not breathe oxygen. The Xenomorph is not dependent on oxygen. So this will not kill the Xenomorph. It will not disintegrate the Xenomorph. It can do some damage because of the force of it, but it's not going to disintegrate it. So the more it does, the more blood spills. At some point, I think enough blood will spill on the Destroyer, and it will kill the Destroyer. Probably not what you thought, but this is what reality is. So therefore, the win is going to go to the Xenomorph in terms of far range. Now, let's go to close range where everything is fair, face to face. Now, let's take this into consideration. The Xenomorph is around 2 meters, the Destroyer is around 3 meters. So, obviously, the Destroyer has a bit more advantage. Nothing too big, obviously, but just a bit more advantage. So, first, the Destroyer has the Oxygen Destroyer Ray, which is going to really pull back the Xenomorph, but again, it's not going to kill it. It cannot kill the Xenomorph. Now, it has a spiked body and the many legs. Now, the Xenomorph is way more agile and faster than the Destroyer. It's going to be jumping all over the place, and it can easily jump from wall to wall, just keep on stabbing the Destroyer. And its stab is very powerful. Until at one point, I believe, when the Xenomorph is trying to stab him, the Destroyer is going to actually grab the Xenomorph and stick its mouth into the flesh and really drain, or I should say attempt to drain its energy. But what happens when it bites into it? The blood will come out, and it will completely melt the mouth off the Destroyer off. It'll melt it off, and from there, the blood is going to keep on spilling over the Destroyer. This blood is amazingly powerful, and it's going to cause a lot of damage. The mouth's going to be completely melted off, and it's going to stab it to death. That's my opinion. I think the Xenomorph is going to win again, 2-0. Again, this is just my opinion. You can debate me in the comment section below. I think the Xenomorph is going to win at a score of 2-0 in close range and far range. Now, as I said, you can debate me in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great and wonderful day.